Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Just waiting for a few of you to join. Different mug today. So hopefully you guys are having a nice Wednesday. Hump day might mean a little bit different in isolation just because we're not at the office so much. I'm actually going to be talking about that a little bit today and how this might actually be benefiting our health, which is kind of cool. So wave if you're out there. I can't always tell who's there. And it's a little dark. Hopefully you guys can see me. Good morning. So I'm a little bit late today. I'm sorry. I tried to get this done in the earlier part of the hour. I guess now as we are home a little bit more, I know our family is sleeping in a little bit more. It is a jug, this coffee mug, for sure. Yep. Gotta have a big cup of coffee in the morning, in my opinion. But that's about my only vice, so I'm still allowed it, right? So today, I actually want to talk a little bit about technology addiction. Now, I've written about this before, and I have an article on my website. It was many months ago. But what's interesting is there was an article, I don't know how many of you saw it yesterday. It was in the New York Times, and it was talking about how with isolation, how mobile phone use is actually going down. Now we're using computers and laptops more, probably because we're working from home, but it was interesting. It was like even visits to, Facebook, Netflix, YouTube were all up on the computer. By anywhere from, let's see, anything from 15 to 27%. But mobile uses of like streaming YouTube and Netflix and Facebook were all down. Now, in my opinion, this is a fabulous thing for our health. This is something that may be good that comes out of this situation we are all in. To me, it would make sense that as people are working from home, we're seeing computer and laptop going up. What I wonder, though, is, when you're normally maybe at the office, if you're under a lot of stress, maybe you're sneaking your cell phone out, scrolling through stuff as a distraction, right? Because you're stressed. And now that we kind of have this home where we can set, I think more people are setting times to work with the kids, times to do something with the family, and we might be actually learning how much we don't need technology or how much we overuse technology in our lives. And that's been proven. And, I have this love-hate relationship with technology because obviously I love that I can work from anywhere, and I love that friends can reach out to me and, that we can communicate real quickly because I'm very much a communicator and a people person. So I love that aspect of it. But that constant stimulation that we get from our phone buzzing or beeping is actually causing a stress response. So we talked a little bit yesterday about how this chronic stress response can impact your memory. I've talked before about how chronic stress response can impact every single system in your body. So what my concern has always been with technology is that we're relying too much on it and it's causing detriment to our health. And so right now, if this is true, if the trends are going away from the mobile phone, we may find that we also come out of this far less stressed than we were before. People are expecting less. When they call a business, they're not expecting right now to be connected right away. They're not expecting the response to be quick in many industries. Now, obviously, there's some out there that are quite busy, like I'm sure Whole Foods delivery expects an answer right now, but anyone else, not really, right? So people are expecting less. People are working more from home. There's more flexibility. I bet that you're probably spending more time with your children now than you have before, or maybe picking up hobbies that you haven't done, reading, doing something, because what else are you going to do, right? I'm doing more workouts at home than I have before. But so I want to talk a little bit about what cell phone addiction is, because the stats are insane. They're crazy, guys. And so maybe this will give you some hope that all of this will not only help with the coronavirus, but will also help with putting us back in perspective. Cell phone addiction actually has a name. It's kind of a funny name. It's called nomophobia. And what that means is no mobile phone phobia. Nomophobia. No mobile phone phobia. What does that mean? That means that you have a fear of not being able to access your cell phone. So like if you run to the store and you leave your phone at home, and do you notice that it's like not in your pocket, or like you go to reach for it and it's not there? And do you feel something in your heart kind of go, oh crap, I left my phone. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? When I was young, there was no phone. We went to the grocery store. I mean, that was just what you did. You didn't think about whether you were going to bring your phone or not. That's very different nowadays, right? So I think this nomophobia can be of varying degrees, but it's pretty much present, I think, in all of us. If we all really like took an introspective look at ourselves, we're all kind of addicted to it. And because of that, we're having a lot of stimulation by the cell phone. Many addiction studies have said clearly that overuse of cell phones links to mental, emotional, and physical issues. And some of these issues are depression, anxiety, and stress. Hello. There was some studies particularly to the use of social media, checking social media all day, with depression, anxiety, and stress. And it was showing that these apps can actually change your emotional reactions, change your brain, and cause impulsive behavior. Now, we talked about this a little bit yesterday when I talked about how constant stress stimulation will change the amygdala in the brain and cause emotional reaction. That's what these apps can do on the cell phone, and it's causing a lot of problems. How many of you keep your cell phone in your bedroom at night? Be real. A lot of you, right? Now I'm wondering, are many of you not keeping it in your phone, in your bedroom now? There are absolute impacts on sleep. It has been proven if you keep your cell phone in your bedroom at night, you will have trouble sleeping. Also, usually the first thing you do in the morning is turn it on, look at it, and that causes like an urgency reaction. It's like a fight or flight. There's the bear. Okay, so definitely keep the cell phone out of the bedroom. It causes a lot of inconsistencies in cortisol. Now, once again, are we doing that right now? I mean, are we on call as much as we were before, or are we a bit more relaxed? Are we going back to our roots of not being attached to a phone? I hope so. One of the most scariest statistics that I have read about smartphone usage, and I want you all to pay attention to this, is that research has shown that there is a very strong link between teenage cell phone addiction and teenage suicide. We have so much suicide already. We're going through tough times. Let's not make the cell phone the cause, okay? That's a big one. And as a mother, that scares the living daylights out of me. Because it's so common now for kids to have cell phones. And as much as my husband and I have tried to limit and not let them have it till they're a little bit older, it's there. And so there's a lot of social pressure, and maybe this isolation will change that. This ongoing distraction results in lower productivity. I think a lot of us business owners are going to start to find that people working from home, prioritizing business, we might actually get an increase in productivity because we're not as distracted by that silly phone in our pocket. We're not trying to do 1,000 things. There was a book published many, many, many years ago that I actually really enjoy. I think it's called The 4-Hour Workweek. And I so apologize, the author's name isn't coming to me. I'm sure many of you have read it. And what I loved about it is it would partition time for different things. So it would say, okay, from this time to this time, you do all your meetings. From this time to this time, you check your email. From this time to this time is free time. And I think a lot of us are probably starting to do that at home more. And that's actually benefiting us. Eye strain. Gosh, as I get older and I look at the cell phone, it gets harder and harder to look at. Hopefully I'm not alone, but the bright lights of it and trying to zone in on it. And people were watching the study on the New York Times is saying that people were watching YouTube on their phone and Netflix on their phone instead of on a big TV or on a computer. So they were looking at their screen more throughout the day, and now that's going down. In fact, YouTube viewing went down like 4.5%. I'll have to look at the timeline on that. I think it's been since Corona. So there are tons of things that you can do to help with this and also help your health. And I think this is a fantastic time to take stock in what can we do to lower our technology addiction, because it's obviously an issue. Okay. Number one, turn off the notifications. I don't need to know when everyone's telling me something on Facebook. I can log into Facebook at a certain time and check it out, right? So turn those notifications off. If they're not absolutely essential, I know we've heard that word a lot lately. What is essential? What is non-essential? I don't know. But if it's not absolutely essential to your day to be notified at that exact moment that something's happened, then turn it off. Okay, that's number one. That will lower it so much, lower that stress response so much. Number two, limit the amount of time that you can scroll through things on your phone. If you want to check the news, don't put an app on your phone for the news. Number one, it will notify you every time there's a story. We've already said we don't want to do that. Number two, it's real easy to just be sitting there and click on it. It takes a lot more effort and focus to go to a computer, type in the website, look at your news stories, and set certain times of day to do that, okay? Because as we talked about yesterday, when you have a stimulation of the fight or flight system, you have something that stimulates stress, it impacts your ability in your prefrontal cortex to act with reason. So that's why those apps become addicting. You know, it's like they're so easy to click on. And then the brain's like, oh, well, that's fine. And you kind of reason through it and you start scrolling. And how many of you stay on your phone longer than you really should? You're like, I'm just going to check my email on my phone real quick, or I'm just going to see what's going on in the world. And then a half an hour later, you're still sitting there, right? Not to mention, kids notice that, parents. Kids notice that a lot. In fact, there was a study, it was an international study of 6,000 children, and they found that 30% of these kids, which to be honest, I think might have been more, I mean, really realistically, but the study officially found that 30% of the children felt unimportant when their parents were sitting on their cell phone. Now let's go back to that suicide risk, right? We don't want our kids to feel unimportant. We don't want them to feel like they don't belong in society. That is not the goal of a parent. So if you're on your cell phone during a meal and your child is sitting there, they're noticing, okay? And they're also learning that behavior. And that is not something that we want to train, at least not something I want to train. I want my kids outside on the trampoline, which by the way, our trampoline is going to fall apart after this isolation. They're on it all day long, which is awesome. So big study on that. So definitely don't bring it to the dinner table. Don't sit on it in front of your children. And, hide it. Hide your phone. Put it in a drawer. Out of sight, out of mind, right? And then set a certain time to go check it. So scheduling these times to use social media is beneficial. And my point here is, with this isolating and us changing the way that we work and changing the way that we're reached. I mean, from my business, now my phones route, right, to people off site. Before there was someone on site, right? But right now we're not on site, we're off site. So we're routing people. There's all of these different ways that you can use technology to actually improve your stress response as opposed to make it worse. So we're starting to see those shifts. And I'm excited about that. So the more you can do right now to down-regulate cell phone use, the better. So good for all of you for connecting with your families. That's awesome. For turning off the phone, for using the computer more, spend more time reading things that are useful to you, that lift you up, that build you up. Spend more time outside, doing games with the kids. That's what we do, by the way, when we were allowed to go out to restaurants. We bring Uno, and the kids play Uno, or they play like different types of little card games. We have Anamia and things like that they can sit there and play instead of being on a phone. It's very valuable. The studies are definitely not favorable to smartphone use. So use this opportunity to reconnect. I'm actually really excited about it. The article that I'm talking about, if you're interested, was on the New York Times yesterday. I don't have a direct link handy, but certainly if you take a look at it, it's quite interesting, and I hope this trend continues. And if you guys have any questions regarding this, hit me with them. I'm trying to do these lives every day. I've had some great suggestions from some of you of what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to mix between, a little bit heavier, more physiology type topics like we had yesterday, and stuff like this, which is more just general health, small things you can do to improve your health. I'll be profiling some herbs. I'll be profiling some foods, some nutrients. I have a long list of awesome things to be talking about in these upcoming weeks. So I love the suggestions. I love the feedback. I wish I could see all of your wonderful faces while I sit here and talk, but I see your names. So hello, 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 thank you. And hopefully this topic today gives you some time to kind of take a look within, really look at, is your use of technology changing with this time? And could this be something that is very good for us? I'm hoping so. Back to the times when I used to just take a walk in my neighborhood when I was 12, or, knock on the neighbor's door, or play with the dog, or, go search for bugs. I used to look for caterpillars all the time. I mean, those things that as a child, I very much remember because they were very low stress. They were very relaxing. And now, our kids are so focused on technology that I think they're missing a very valuable thing here. So let's teach them. Let's teach them how to reconnect. Let's teach ourselves how to reconnect. Let's start doing the things that we used to do that did not rely on that silly little phone. So speaking of that, I'm turning my phone off right now. I'm logging off and I'm going to go outside. So thank you so much for joining today. Much love from all of us Pingels. Be well. Hang in there. We're going to make it. We're going to make it. Just hang in there. We can do this. Okay? Much love. Be well.